Hey guys, this is Eric. In today's video, we're going to be talking about sex and intimacy when you have an ostomy. So turn down those lights, light those candles, put on some music, and let's get started. Okay, so just a quick disclaimer. This video is obviously going to be about sex and intimacy. So if those are topics that you feel a bit uncomfortable about, feel free to check out some of my other videos. But if you're genuinely interested in the information, I would suggest you stick around. Just to clarify, this video is going to be about sex when you have an ostomy, not sex with an ostomy or sex with a stoma. Those are very different things, but believe me, people are searching for that, and that is not what the content of this video is about. I would not recommend having sex with someone's stoma, nor would I recommend having someone put anything into your own stoma. And I'm pretty sure every doctor out there would agree with me. So let's move on. Now, I can't possibly cover every single facet of this topic. There's a lot that I don't know. There's a lot that I can't personally share my experience about. Being a white, straight male with an ileostomy puts me into a tiny box. So I won't have any personal experience with anything to do with the gay and lesbian aspects of this, although I would definitely want to hear from you if you are part of the LGBT community. Share your experience either in the comment section, or you can get in contact with me personally if you want to share your experience, or if you want me to share your story with others. If you're looking for more information, I will have a full article that will have a lot more detail expanding on this subject. And that's something that I'm going to try to keep updated as new information comes in, as people share their experience and that sort of thing. Now, in this video, you're going to see a mixture of different clips. Obviously, you're going to see me talking here, but you're also going to be seeing a clip of me with two other advocates. Now, those female advocates have experience with an ostomy. One of them, Sara from Inflamed and Untamed, she's had an ostomy in the past. It was a temporary ostomy. And so she's going to share her experience about that. And the other is Christy from Crohnie Bologna. And she's a permanent ileostomate, just like I am. And she'll be giving you the female perspective on this topic. So enjoy those.
So with my own surgery, like, I was married for over a decade already by that point. So intimacy wasn't an issue. I didn't have to worry about, having a new partner or anything like that. So it wasn't that much of a challenge for me. Now, having said that, there were still those emotional things, how is it going to work? Is it going to hurt my stoma? Physical contact and things like that. So there were a couple of challenges there that, you kind of just learn about and you overcome. So for me, it was more the physical, because emotionally it was like, I'm feeling a lot better now and let's just get to this. But physically it was kind of like, is the bag going to interfere with stuff? Is it going to be in the way? So I was focused on, okay, how do I conceal my appliance? How do I get it out of the way?
For me, it was I was healing myself, and I was in a married relationship for a decade as well, and it was balancing my health circumstance and my marriage and taking care of myself, and I was really concerned about him. My husband had been my caretaker in a lot of ways, and to switch from being somebody who's cared for versus your equal partner, and the way that you share your body like that, he was afraid of hurting me, and so it really took some convincing and to help him through that. I think I was ready before he was, and it was a discussion I had with my doctor, and my doctor conveyed to him, she'll tell you if she doesn't feel good about whatever's going on.
Well, I was also married for about 10 years at the time. I'm kidding. I wasn't married. For me, it was a pretty difficult journey. I was young. I was still in college. I was in my 20s when I had ostomy surgery, and I think mentally was the biggest hurdle for me. Was a lot of negative thoughts. at the time I had been so sick, and now I was, around 80 pounds. I was very underweight. And the ostomy bag looked even bigger than it should have because I was so small, and just wondering, I thought, I'm now the most disgusting thing in the world. Who could find this attractive? Why would anybody want to be in a relationship with me when, we're so young and there's so many other healthy women out there? What will his reaction be? Blah, blah, blah. It was just a very big mental health problem for me, just going through that. It's a big change on your body, and just being so sick and all that. So, and then I think, I don't think that I'm alone in this, but there's a lot of thoughts that you have when you start thinking about sex with an ostomy. What do you wear? What's it gonna look like? What's it gonna be like? Is it gonna be flopping around and waving in? What if somebody's head is near that bag? That's kind of weird.
Where do you put your hands?
All these thoughts were going through my mind. At that time in my life, I did not utilize the internet, so I did not know that there were things that you can wear to cover it up and do all this stuff. So I ended up just free and swinging it around. I don't know.
Free balling.
Yeah, free balling that ostomy bag. Because I didn't know any better, and I had no support in my life. I did not know ostomates.
Now, when you're talking to a partner about intimacy and sex, sometimes the intimacy part can come at a very different time than the sex part, and that's totally fine. When we're talking about intimacy, what we're usually talking about are closeness, physical closeness, sometimes emotional closeness. We're talking about kissing and other physical contact like that doesn't necessarily involve intercourse or oral sex or anything like that. Now, that can happen at any time after surgery. There's no special requirement for that to actually happen, so long as you're comfortable with that.
But what I come to learn eventually, the biggest battle was in my head. But his reaction was nothing but positive. It wasn't them, it was me. And just breaking that ice and getting over it, I think you just need to get there, and it becomes more normal. That becomes your life, and you start accepting yourself more when you see that other people accept you. So I think that was my thing.
I found that as well, that my husband's reaction was positive, and any tentativeness on his end was just trying to ensure that I was okay. And once he saw that I was okay with myself mentally and physically ready to go, things quickly got back into normal. So I was, of the struggles and other things that you balance being an ostomate, I was really glad that was a thing that kind of went online. Once it was online, it was fine. So.
Now, talking to your partner about intimacy can be a little worrisome for some people. I know that if you're a single ostomate, or you've just started dating, or you have a very new partner, sometimes you're very unsure of how things are going to be. You don't know how they're going to react about your ostomy. You don't know how they're going to feel about your new body post-surgery. And one of the things that really help is really keeping an open line of communication with your partner. A lot of the times they don't even know what an ostomy is, so you're going to have to kind of explain that to them. Don't let their imagination run wild. Hopefully, if you've had an ostomy at the time you've met them, they've been able to see some of the things that you've already been able to do, whether that be sports or other activities, and they know that you're not going to be fragile. Now, if you're in a long-term relationship, chances are if you're in a very loving, caring relationship, there aren't going to be too many concerns. A lot of the times your partner just wants to make sure and just have that reassurance that they're not going to be hurting you by having sex, and that you're totally comfortable with doing that with them. So I really can't stress that point enough. You have to make sure that your partner knows that you're ready for this, your body is ready for this. They're not going to hurt you by having sex. They don't have to worry about damaging your stoma or anything like that by getting close to you. And the more they understand that, the closer you guys will become, because there's not going to be that apprehension, whether, I don't want to hurt my partner or anything like that. Now, there's no right or wrong time to talk to your partner, especially if they're a new partner. Although I think just from talking to other ostomates, most of them will just say, when you're ready, when you feel comfortable to talk about that with your partner, then do that. Now, there are some other ostomates, and I kind of fall into this camp, who think that telling a new partner earlier on in the relationship about your ostomy is probably the best thing you can do. For one, it'll help you to weed out some of the bad apples, because you know what, let's be honest, if someone can't accept you for who you are entirely, then they probably have no business being in your life. And the second part of that is, obviously you'll find a lot of people that are going to accept you completely, and those are the ones you want to hang on to. Now, when we're getting to the sex and intercourse part, then that becomes a little bit different. That you would normally want to wait until your body is healed enough to partake in that kind of activity, and you also want to make sure that you're emotionally ready for that, and that your partner is ready in some way to experience that with you. Now, I would always suggest talking to your surgeon before you actually engage in sexual intercourse. There might be some complications, there might be some other factors that go into healing your insides. You might have some wounds or other complications that really should be healed before you consider going into the more physical aspects of intimacy. So double check with them before you start getting involved with that sort of thing. So if you're having surgery, whether it's related to a bowel condition, whether it's related to a bladder or prostate disease, if you're having surgery anywhere in that midsection, then chances are there's going to be some form of complication or risk involved. Now, the risks and the factors that go into these risks have a lot to do with the type of illness that you have, your age, whether you're on medication, whether you're having any other treatment. So if you're having if you're having radiation or chemotherapy for cancer treatments, then that could very well affect your risk factors for complications. And it's really important to discuss complications and risks with your doctor. I know that was something that came up for me, and my surgeon was actually good enough to mention a lot of these risks that I already had written down to discuss, so I was glad for that. But if your doctor isn't talking about risks associated with your surgery, you should bring that up and make it a point to bring that up during your follow-up appointments, or I should say your pre-op appointments before you actually have the surgery. If you've already had surgery and you've run into any of these complications, you should still be speaking to your surgeon. They may refer you to another doctor depending on what the problem is. But the best way to handle that is to work through your medical professional and see what options are available.
And for the ladies, were you told that there would be any difference with needing lubrication before and after surgery?
I found that one out the hard way. Nobody said anything about that at all, and it was a process of finding the right one because things did change.
Yeah, like with me, my ostomy nurse was like, yeah, you go to the store and then try out lubrication before you do things with another person. So
I was never told that, but also nothing ever changed in me, so.
So when it comes to vaginal dryness for women, which tends to be on the top of the list of complications after surgery, there are hormone therapies, so they're actually like estrogen therapies that you can use, and I believe some of them come in a cream form, but there are probably other ways to do that. But the most commonly recommended fix for this is just to use lubrication during sex. Now, there are multiple types of lubrication. In case you've never used one before, there's water-based, there's oil-based, and then there's also silicone-based. Now, not all of them are compatible with condoms, so if that's something that you or your partner are using, then that might be something you want to consider. Water-based is by far the most popular. A lot of people tend to like water-based, and you'll probably notice KY jelly in your doctor's office when they're doing certain types of exams. That's the same stuff. Now, you'll probably be able to find brands that are better than KY or Astroglide. There are quite a few brands, and I would suggest trying some. Some might be irritating. You might find them actually to be irritating to your skin. So you might want to just try a couple of different brands and see which one works best for you and your partner.
So it was a slow relearning, because also as a woman, when you have surgery and you have your rectum and your anus removed and you're permanent, the nerve endings change down there. The what feels good changes down there as you are healing through the process, what feels good one time does not feel good the next. And so it was all about really talking to each other and kind of taking control of that sexual environment, and having my husband trust me enough to go with that and be okay. And so it was a change of roles from being patient to then sort of leader. Okay, I need to mention, because people do ask, is sexual discomfort afterwards. Sometimes that's because of a scar tissue, and what it feels like as a woman, if you can imagine in your brain putting a piece of tape on a balloon and then blowing it up, how that whole area stretches, but that piece, and so that one piece is stretched or stressed more than the area around it. So that's a real thing. That happens. It's not comfortable. There is physical therapists that manage that. Pelvic floor physical therapy is one aspect, and they can help you through that. But it is a real thing, and it does not feel cute. And it's hard to feel sexy when that doesn't feel good. And so those are things that people ask from time to time of me. And hi, I feel you. So. Use it or lose it is a thing. You have to keep the area flexible, and that happens with use.
Yeah, for the guys, depending on the surgery, erectile dysfunction might be an issue. That's usually when you have like anything done to your rectum, like if you have your rectum removed, then it becomes more of a concern, but there's always some kind of risk there. And that's one of the first questions my surgeon asked. So is everything working with the plumbing? Yeah. So that's something you're going to discuss with your doctor, and there are strategies to kind of correct things if that's not working for you.
If
or
your doctor doesn't ask, you tell them.
Yeah.
Now, some of the other challenges that men might have as a consequence to surgery is impotence, so the inability to get an erection or maintain an erection. They may also get something called retrograde ejaculation, and that's basically when your semen goes into your bladder rather than out the tip of your penis. That can obviously be a problem for some people. There's infertility issues involved with some of these issues, and sometimes you do want to discuss this ahead of time rather than after the fact, just in case there might be any other ways to mitigate these risk factors.
Really, the most important part, regardless of like what you have on, what you're wearing, is your confidence. And if you're not confident with yourself and with your ostomy, then your partner's not going to feel very confident either. So you need to learn how to manage your appliance. You need to be comfortable in your own skin, and that will project onto your partner, regardless of whether you're married or single or it's a new partner. They will mirror how you view yourself. So I think that's the most important part.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. If you're kind of owning it and you're feeling cute, they're gonna think you're cute too, and that really does show.
So you have confidence and you have self-esteem. A lot of the times they go together, they go hand in hand. But for someone who's just had surgery, especially if you've had a very long illness, you're probably going to have problems with both of those. So my suggestion would be to build up on that confidence, especially revolving around maintaining your appliance, knowing what works for you, that sort of thing. And the second part, obviously, is to work on self-esteem. Now, where confidence has to do more with your ability to do things, self-esteem is more about how you view yourself and what kind of value you put on yourself. So if you have a very low self-esteem, that's going to reflect pretty poorly, and your partner will pick up on that. And unfortunately, if you present yourself with low confidence, low self-esteem, what's going to happen is you're going to set a benchmark for your partner, and they're not going to know how to handle the situation very well. So it's really important to keep those things up. Now, a couple of tips that I have when you're looking at boosting your self-esteem is don't compare your current life after surgery to what life was like before your surgery. And I know a lot of us do that. A lot of us say, well, I was able to do X, Y, and Z before. Now I'm not sure if I can do that anymore, or something like that. That really doesn't help the situation. It really lowers your self-esteem, and it really projects a very negative image about yourself. The second thing I would say to help with your self-esteem is to not be so hard on yourself about the surgery. Some of us view surgeries as a failure. Some of us view surgeries as something that all of a sudden changes who they are. Let's face it, if you've had ostomy surgery, chances are all it's changed is how you pee or how you poop. That's it. It really hasn't changed who you are as a person, and it certainly didn't make you a bad person. Another thing that I like to do to help with self-esteem is to be grateful of the fact that I could even have this surgery, to be grateful the fact that I'm even here. And, I keep thinking about the fact that, if I was sick 100 years ago and I had no opportunity to have an ostomy, I wouldn't be standing here right now making this video. So those are things that really help me to feel lucky. They help me to feel very grateful and honored to be here. And it really raises the positivity that I have about my ostomy. Now this tip might be tough, but if you can surround yourself with people who are supportive and who love you, and get rid of the ones who are not supportive and give you a hard time, your life is going to be so much better. A lot of the time unfortunately, we try to take what other people say and we kind of work that against us. So if you have someone who's giving you a hard time about your ostomy or about something to do with your health, and they're getting you down about that, that kind of lingers on, and you really want to change that. You want to stay with people, especially a community of people who know what you're going through. So whether that be a cancer community, whether that be an ostomy or IBD community, but surround yourself with people who are going to support you, and that way you'll be able to move forward and you'll be quite a bit more positive about your experience. Now, when it comes to dating and relationships, one thing that's really important is to not take rejection so personally. And this could be a really hard thing, especially if the rejection or the breakup happened soon after your partner has found out about your ostomy. You know what? That's their problem. It's not yours. You're still the same person. You just happen to poop in a different way. You happen to have a medical condition, or maybe you had an accident that led you up to having an ostomy, but you're still the same wonderful person. So don't take that rejection as something against you. Sometimes it's just them. And it's just sometimes it's not the right person for you. Now, one thing that I see a lot of people doing in the ostomy community, and I see this a lot more with women, I don't know why men don't do this more, but learning to love yourself, I think, is really important. So pampering yourself, doing things for you are going to really raise that self-esteem up and make you feel better about yourself.
Yeah, so some of the practical things, I guess, that patients should be looking at, obviously there's the empty your bag first.
Yeah.
Make sure make sure it's empty before you start anything.
Oh yeah, I only had clear bags, by the way, so that was cool.
Yeah, exactly. If you're wearing a clear bag, maybe take your partner into consideration, whether they want to see that or not.
I could only use what the hospital gave me.
I gotta tell you, life got better once the okay things happened, because nothing happened in the land of clear bags. It did not happen.
Yep, and the size of the bag and the style. If you're still using the style of bag that you had in the hospital, it's probably not the most aesthetically pleasing bag. There are several bags now that look so much better.
So another tip that'll help before you get down to it is not to have huge meals, within a few hours of having sex. For a lot of people, big meals mean a lot of output. And I know for me, as soon as I start eating, I can feel my insides churning, because that's peristalsis working, and that's how your body's supposed to work. But for some people, that reaction is pretty immediate, and they might eat something and then have output very soon after. So if it can help, if you can plan it out, try not to eat a huge meal within a few hours before engaging in any kind of intimacy or sexual contact. Now, some people do use products like Imodium or like an anti-diarrheal medication to slow down their output. You can try that. It's not something that I personally use. I would talk to your doctor about it, because you may have some other kind of complication or issue that may contradict using that sort of thing. So just be aware of that. So communication before engaging in sexual contact is really important. Let your partner know what works for you. If you've noticed some pains or something change after your surgery, let them be aware of that. So at least they know that if something is making you uncomfortable, you'll be able to talk to them about it and switch things up.
What do you do about spontaneity?
Well, right after I've gone to the bathroom, it's like the best time ever. But I've also become like the quickest bag emptier in the West. So you can hold on to your hat, you know, and I'll be right back. And
hang on, I'm just going to roll over.
you make it part of foreplay. Yeah, she's coming back. I'm ready, you know, that. So.
Covering your nose.
Cuddle time, morning
cuddles.
Oh, yes, morning cuddles are very important. And so it's a matter of when you wake up, your bag is filled with gas. So you, excuse me, got to freshen up and you take care of your business and then hop back in there and cuddle. But it's a cuddle. It's a matter of it's that slight change where, you know, many people step out of the room for their own freshening up, and it's just part of normal now.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Yeah, don't let that stop you from enjoying your partner. Don't be like, well, I don't have a wrap with me, so it's kind of like, let's delay this. Don't let that stop you, please.
Yes.
So
in my mind, you know, if you're with a partner and that's a positive relationship, sex is only going to be a good additive. And you know, my mom person says if you can bless every room of the house, go for it. So she calls before she comes.
I've been in your house before.
Guess what? But yeah, no, my sexuality and my need to share my body with my husband does not change because I'm an ostomate. It's the same now as it was before. I just have an accessory.
So when it comes down to having intercourse, communication is always going to be key here. Whether or not you're suffering from any kind of pain or trouble maintaining an erection or vaginal dryness, these are things that you should discuss with your partner. A lot of the times when you're on the same page, you can make it work, even if you're struggling through a few challenges. So for some people, that might be trying a new position or a position that maybe they haven't tried before, just because something that they used to like might not be working right then and there for them. For other people, it might just be introducing that lubrication or using more of it. And for some people, there may just be concerns about their bag rubbing up against their partner, you know, whether or not that's going to hurt their stoma and whatnot. So these are things that you should be discussing with your partner so that you guys are kind of on the same level.
You guys wear stuff to keep it close to your body.
Oh no, I'm all natural.
So does it like scrape people?
Yeah.
I just want
It's part of the friction of love.
yeah.
You want everything rubbing up against everything.
It's good for people to know because I don't
Well, you know,
want
sometimes, you know, towards the beginning I did, and then every so often, if you want a surprise, I'm wearing something fancy. But in general, no.
All right, so if we're talking about oral sex, there's really nothing you need to worry about. Anyone can engage in oral sex, either giving or receiving when they have an ostomy. There should be no concerns there. Now, some people may have or may feel a little uncomfortable about having their bag out and so close to their partner's face. If you're one of those people like I am, then either wear some kind of support garment or some kind of support belt or something to get it out of the way. For me personally, I like to use a horizontal support band, so I actually wear my bag horizontally, and that gets things completely out of the way, and there's never been an issue with that. So this is a topic that I have never really heard any ostomates talk about, especially not guys, because for some reason we don't like to talk about anything. But I know there are some ostomates out there who are interested in learning more about masturbation when you have an ostomy. So this is nothing to be ashamed of. Believe me, I guarantee most of you guys out there are doing it. There really shouldn't be any concerns. Now, masturbation is a really good way to make sure that things are working after surgery. And for guys, your surgeon is probably going to ask you in your first follow-up whether or not your plumbing is working properly. So it's a great way to find out what's going on with your body. For the women, it's a great way to know whether or not vaginal dryness is a concern or if there's any kind of pain or anything like that. that you want to make your partner or doctor aware of. So, let this be some investigative work while you're having fun with it. Now, the biggest concern I think that some people might have, or challenge that some people might have, and this really depends honestly on what hand you're using, is whether or not your bag is going to get in the way. For me, I like to wear my bag horizontally, so it's always out of the way. There's no issues for that. For some people, if that's something that they don't normally do, then using an ostomy wrap or something else just to kind of tuck your bag, that will come in handy. If you're using a small appliance, then you may not have to do anything and things might just work out for you, so don't worry about that. Now, for the guys out there, if you happen to have impotency after your surgery, so that is failure to maintain an erection or to get an erection, some of the therapies that I've been reading about online actually suggests that with a combination of medication or other devices, and they have vacuum pumps and that sort of thing to help get that erection going, but they actually recommend at least having an erection 2 to 3 times a week, and that helps with blood flow, and that helps to keep the tissue healthy as part of the rehabilitation process. So keep that in mind. Now, if you're someone who likes to use sex toys, whether that be dildos, whether that be some other kind of insertion product, whether that be pocket pussies or anything like that, there really shouldn't be much trouble. Obviously, you're going to want to take it slow at first. You don't know if something's changed inside, for example, inside your vagina, if there's something that's changed after surgery. You want to take it easy because you're not too sure. Take it slow, use lubrication if you have to, and if you're a guy, there shouldn't really be any challenges there. Those toys should help you to not only make sure that you're able to get an erection and maintain an erection, but they might also help you to have a little fun with it in the process. Now, there is one category of sex toy that might be problematic for some people. So if you're into role play, or if you're into any kind of harnessing systems or anything like that, if you're using strap-on dildos, that might be a little bit of a concern if the product goes like completely across your abdomen. Now, in doing research for the article and video on this topic, Amazon is a fantastic place to get sex toys and look for sex toys. But I came across quite a few products, including strap-on dildos for the ladies, that look like they would be no problem at all if you have an ostomy. They came low enough that it would completely avoid your appliance, and it looks like something that anyone should be able to get into if that's your thing. Now, if you are using sex toys and a lubrication, it's important to remember that not all lubricants are going to be compatible with those toys, so you might want to just double check to make sure that it is. The last thing you want is to get a lube that's going to degrade the sex toy that you're using. That would obviously suck, but it probably won't make your experience very nice. So just double check on that if you're using the two together. So when we talk about options for concealing and supporting your ostomy appliance, we actually have quite a few different things to choose from. Now, I want to keep in mind that ostomy accessories, support garments, ostomy lingerie, things like that, they're not necessary. A large group of people like to wear these types of products because it makes them feel better about themselves. It boosts their self-esteem and self-confidence. For me personally, it's a practicality of it. It helps to keep things supported and out of the way. I don't want my bag flopping around. But for other people, doesn't matter. They don't need it or they don't want it. So these are just options, and it's totally up to you if you want to use them. So the first one I would say would be pouch covers. If you're wearing a clear appliance, like I happen to, I don't want my partner to see that. So a pouch cover is going to be an excellent way to conceal that. Now, you can get pouch covers in many different styles and patterns, and some look actually really nice. Some are made out of lace, and so there's quite a few different varieties there. But keep in mind that pouch covers are only for concealment. They don't offer any kind of support. And as a matter of fact, if you're using a larger size bag and you have a larger size pouch cover to accommodate that bag, you might find that things are getting in the way more often than they should. So in that case, you might want to look at another type of accessory. Now, the second accessory on my list would be some kind of ostomy wrap or belly band. Now, these help to both conceal and offer support to your appliance. A lot of the times you can fold them in half so that it keeps things even more compact and out of the way. But I want to make it clear that ostomy wraps are the ones that have pockets inside. So those are meant to actually hold an ostomy appliance. When you're looking at things like maternity bands or belly bands or other kind of wraps that go around your abdomen, they may not have that pocket. So there's a greater chance of your ostomy bag actually coming out the bottom of it and kind of slipping out. So it's not going to offer you the same level of support, but it will definitely offer you some level of concealment. So consider that. Now, the third option would be an actual support garment. So for me, because I wear my appliance sideways, I use a special band that basically supports my pouch, and it does a fantastic job. It keeps the pouch pretty compact, out of the way, conceals things. Movements are not an issue at all. I'm able to bend in all directions, so that's something that's really helped me. There are support garments that are meant to accommodate your bag even if it's vertical or diagonal, so it doesn't always have to be horizontal, but the point is it's going to offer you the support and concealment that you might be looking for, a step beyond what traditional wraps might offer. Now, for the ladies out there, if you're into lingerie and sexy undergarments, then know that you can wear whatever you've been comfortable wearing. You don't have to change anything. But there are special garments designed for ostomates that can help keep things concealed, secure, and still look pretty damn sexy. So I've seen a couple of different brands. There's one actually out in Montreal called Alternative Anna. They make some fantastic lingerie. There are other products out there from Ostomy Secrets. The company Ostomy, I believe, has some undergarments. There are actually quite a few other ones there. There's a Jasmine collection and more. I'll actually list a bunch of these inside of a special link that I have for ostomy clothing and accessories. Depending on the country that you're from, depending on what you're looking for, there's going to be something for you. But these garments are wonderful. They're well made. All of the ones that I've ever come across just look phenomenal on both the models that are wearing them and the ostomates who take pictures and share themselves wearing these garments on social media. So keep an eye out for those.
I wore like lingerie and things like that, but it got to the point where I really did not want to be covering up or hiding who I was, that I didn't feel like I was genuinely sharing all of myself in that process, because lingerie isn't where I usually live. So I switched to the small little bags. I call them the swim size mini bags.
Now, one of the best tricks I would say up any ostomate's sleeve when it comes to keeping their appliance small and secure is to go with a smaller size appliance. Now, if you have a one-piece system, this could be a little difficult for you if you're used to wearing the larger size bags. But if you have a two-piece system, and more specifically, if you have a two-piece with a mechanical coupling system, then most major brands will offer smaller size bags. Now, usually you'll find like 12-inch, and then there's usually a 7 to 9-inch bag. And then there are also smaller ones. And you can actually get products more commonly called stoma caps that are tiny, tiny. They may only be about 3 inches. And you would attach that to your appliance, and there's basically nothing to cover up. It's a very, very small appliance. You don't have to worry about that. Now, for some people, this may not be appropriate. If you're a colostomate and you irrigate your colon, this is going to be something that you should probably consider more often than not, because you have a very inactive stoma, so there's no risk of anything happening when you've got such a small pouch on. If you're an ileostomate or you have a high output stoma, then these products are generally not recommended. So I would go with something like maybe a smaller bag, or even a bag that you can fold in half, like the Coloplast Sensura Mios. Now, a couple of resources that I think might be very helpful if you're an ostomate. Whether you're gay, whether you're straight, whether you have an ileostomy or colostomy, there's a lot of groups that you can join, whether that be online groups, whether that be local groups, or even a Facebook group. I would suggest getting in contact with somebody, even if it's a stoma nurse, but anybody who might be able to point you in the right direction if you have any specific questions, or if you want to connect with other people who are going through the same thing. I know that that's something that has helped me, and I know a lot of people rely on social media and online support, so perhaps that could be part of your daily routine as well.
Yeah, I wish I had people like you guys online when I got my ostomy, but social media at that time was just not where it is today at all, so I had no resources for help.
My resource was a nurse, and it was my ostomy wound nurse, and she was like, so, are you having sex yet? How's that going? Let me show you these knickers. And she got in a box and she took a bunch out. I think these might be about your size. What do you think? And this is where you get them. And I had no idea. And so for me it was an ostomy nurse, and her name's Ruth. And I still remember her because she was that good. And she's like, and I came back to see her again because I had a wound. And she re-said, how you doing? How's that going? Tell me, have you tried this yet? And so she was really good, really good.
I just say too that your life isn't over, even if you're thinking that your life's over and you're not going to be able to go on or find good relationships or be intimate with somebody. That's not the case, and we know many people with ostomies who live very fulfilling lives and who are in great relationships. So this is not the end of the world, and you will get to a better place.
Well, and everybody's got something. Somebody's got a wanky toe. Someone has a birthmark shaped like Australia. You just have an ostomy. So everybody's got something.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I hope this video has helped you guys. There's a lot of information, a lot of stuff to talk about on this topic. Unfortunately, as I mentioned, I don't want to make this a very long video, although I know it is. But if you have more interest in the subject, please leave a comment below. If you want to be more private about it, you can always send me an email or a private message. And you can contact me right through my website. And if you're looking for more information on this topic, then I'll include more information in the article accompanying this guide, as well as some other resources that you might want to look into and check out. So until next time, guys, have fun. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.